Hello, and welcome to Roly Poly Weight Loss. I'm your host, Roly Poly. Welcome to day 28. Okay. So, since I brought up 5Ks last time, I figured I'd go into a little more depth today. For those of you who don't know, a 5K is 5 kilometers, which is 3.1 miles. And it's a shorthand for a 5-kilometer long walk or race. Okay. This is a common race length for fundraising groups. You can also see a 10K, which is 6.2 miles, and occasionally a 15K, which is 9.3 miles. And then you ramp up to a half marathon, 13.1 miles, and finally a marathon at 26.2. I've seen one 20K, I think one. And that would be a 12.4, at which point just do the half marathon. You're adding less than a mile. Just do the half marathon. But no, I think I've seen one 20K. Some organizations will pair one or more events together, like a 5K and a 15, or a 5K and a half marathon and a full marathon, etc. So family-related charities often also have a little like 1K type thing for the kiddies too, a little like fun run, like 1 mile, 1K type of thing. But there's usually an upper age limit on that. So, that said, there are basically 3 ways to do 5Ks. There we go. The first is local events. You can do a little research and find events happening in your local area. You'll often find these around the holidays, such as turkey trots at Thanksgiving, Pride, this is a Pride one, St. Patrick's Day are really popular. A lot of the times you'll find ones that are fundraising for veterans or police and firefighters, that kind of thing, tend to happen around 4th of July, Veterans Day. They tend to tie it into a logical holiday. So on. There's Easter ones, all kinds of things. There are also events for local charities, which you can find, and those tend to be whenever. Sometimes it's relevant to the charity. Sometimes it's just, hey, we got this weekend free. And some places have 5Ks that tie into their local festivals or parades and things. There's a local strawberry festival in near San Diego, and it's got a strawberry 5K as part of their festival. It's really cute. So whatever your local oddity is, there might be a 5K around that. And then some groups are actually nationwide or even worldwide, but they do events in different cities, like St. Jude, the children's charity, rock and roll marathon series, things like that. They go in 20 different cities. And they might have one near you. If you're in a bigger city like San Diego, where I am, there's a good chance that these kinds of events will swing through your area. And keep in mind that when I say local, I currently live out in the boonies of San Diego County. So to get to the rock and roll marathon downtown, I have to drive like an hour. So when I say local, I don't only mean out here in the boonies where I live, because nothing happens out here. But in that broader San Diego County, there is a lot of stuff. So you might not have anything in your little 20-mile radius, but in your broader county radius, easy travel distance, you might have something. So you might be asking yourself, well, how do I find these events? The first thing you can do is Google, which is semi-effective. A lot of these things, especially the smaller ones, they aren't really like paying for AdWords searches and stuff. So you'll get some of the bigger ones, like if Rock and Roll Marathon passes through you, you'll get those pretty easily. But some of the smaller ones might be harder to find with a straight up Google. So there are also sites like Active, Eventbrite, Local Races, which are event websites. And you can find races, and you can also sign up on these sites. And they also have something I'm going to discuss soon, which is a combo race. And then another place to look is local running hotspots. Whoop. Local running hotspots. So, for example, in downtown San Diego at Mission Bay Park, one of the bathroom walls, one of the bathrooms on the outside, has this big rack on it with slots for all of these running magazines and race flyers and ads and all kinds of things. And so the race flyers are great, but also the running magazines I found there. And so you can go through those and see what's in your area. And then also at places like Roadrunner Sports, you can go there to get shoes and other supplies. And they've also got a rack by the door for all kinds of flyers and resources. If you have any kind of store that is like an REI, that's all about like camping and hiking and outdoorsy and stuff, they might have a few things. Again, they might have a magazine that you can find, and you can then get into your local magazine and go to its website if it has one and follow that. So these are great. All of these are great for the first kind of race, which is your local or semi-local races. Now the second way to do a race is a virtual race. With virtual races, the race is based online, and people run/walk at their own location and pace. Now this is great for groups who can't necessarily afford to set up the whole race day thing, with getting, the streets blocked off and finding a staging area and having all the big, signs and a DJ and, bananas and water for everyone and all of that. It's a big deal to put on a race. And some groups can't quite manage that yet. Or they just might not be in a populated enough area to really get an effective audience. So they might hold a virtual race instead. So when I say virtual, it doesn't mean you don't actually walk. It's not virtual walking. Virtual refers to the race day event part of it. You do the actual walk. You actually have to, somewhere, sometime, walk for a whole 5 kilometers. And often they operate on something of an honor system. They might want you to put in your time. Some of them have a space to submit a picture of your trail or your distance. You can use your Fitbit. And a lot of them really like it if you'll post a picture of yourself at the end, like, I did it. So they'll love posting those on their website. So those are virtual races. And then, as I briefly mentioned before, the third kind is a combo. You'll find that some local races also allow people to do a virtual version. So you might find a local race that is, hey, come do this walk, this day and time at this local place. If you can't make that, you can do it virtually, and we'll still send you the stuff, and you send us your picture. So some of them do a combo. So you might find some of your local races have that as well. Ooh. And when you are on those event websites, if you have it limited by locality, you will find races popping up in your area if they have a virtual element. So like I found a race in Virginia that was happening in Virginia, but it had a virtual element, and they were like, yeah, hey, you know, we'll ship a shirt and a medal anywhere. And I liked the charity, so I did that one. So you'll find these combo ones popping up where it isn't actually local to you, but you can do it virtually. So when it comes to races, but in particular the virtual ones, there are some things to be aware of. So local races, like the ones I started with for St. Jude and the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, are often used as fundraisers. Basically, you pledge to St. Jude that you want to make X amount of money for them. They usually request that to be like $500 or something, or $1,000. But you can say, like, I'm gonna make 100. That's it. And then you get people to pledge that if you can walk the whole 5K, they'll pay you that money to give to St. Jude. And then juvenile diabetes is the same thing. So it's not that you necessarily have to put money in other than your registration, but that you are getting other people to sponsor you to walk to give that money to the charity. Other races follow this concept. Those are just the two big ones I know off the top of my head that do it that way. But now sometimes the race isn't set up for pledging, but there are groups, like running groups, running clubs, that will do the pledging themselves for their own cause. There's a group that does fundraising for Crohn's and colitis, and so they run at other races, not necessarily Crohn's and colitis races, but just like whatever, rock and roll marathon, whatever, and they raise money throughout the year to hit their goal for their specific group. So people do pledging that way too. And side note, runners groups. If you can find a local runners group, they'll know all the races. So look for groups too. Now, this can be great if you have a lot of people around you with that kind of money to pledge. Or if you work for a company that has like an active matching program, so you only have to make half of the money and then they'll match you. Or you can get a big group to go in together. That's great. But for some of us, for a variety of reasons, the fundraising aspect isn't the greatest, isn't the most likely to happen. Never fear, there are plenty of races that do not do that. Some races just use your registration fee as their fundraiser. Now, side note to that, yes, you do have to pay a registration fee for, I think, every one of these. This generally covers the cost of your shirt, if you get one, your little bib with your number, your medal, if they give them out, and the logistics of the event, if it's a local event. Plus, money for the charity running it. And now, generally, registrations are in the $20 to $50 range. It depends. Longer events, your 15s, your half marathons tend to be higher. Also just because logistically they have to get a bigger space, blocked off. And often there's an early bird price, and then it gets higher as you get closer to the day. So that's also where that higher number can come in. A $20 race can end up being $40 the day of. So get in early. So you heard me mention medals. This is where it can get really fun. Many, though not all, of these races give out finisher medals. St. Jude, for example, no medals. Probably to like the top 3 winners, but no finisher medals. And I have to tell you, it feels awesome to cross a finish line and be dying and have someone put a medal around your neck and tell you good job. Because it's not like they're like on a table. There's always people who are like, good job, and give you a medal, and it's awesome. Now, for virtual races, the medals are far more common. And because that's kind of their thing. You're less likely to see a shirt. You're more likely to see a shirt with local races. But so I had done St. Jude's and Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation for several years. And then I decided to do a local St. Patrick's Day walk. And that one was a split race. There was a 5K and then there was a longer one. And I knew that the people doing the longer one got a medal. But I walked off and they were like, which did you do? And I was like, 5K. And they're like, here's your 5K medal. And I was like, oh, I get a medal? I had no idea. And it was big and it was gold and green and a 4-leaf clover and it was amazing. And I was like, oh, this is the best day of my life. So from then on, I was kind of looking for what races give finisher medals. And I did a lot more walks, local walks even, than I had in the couple of years before that combined. Because I wanted that moment of like, I got a medal. Now that said, was there a selfish reason getting a medal? Absolutely. Was I also doing something great for my body by walking a 5K and doing something great for a charity by giving them money? Absolutely. So you can be selfish and want a little finisher medal by doing something fantastic for your body and for other people. You can feel really good about it. So, like I said, I did some research and that's when I found these virtual races where the medals are more common. You're less likely to get a shirt, but you're far more likely to get a medal. Often you'll just get a bib and a medal. So there are a bunch of virtual race sites out there. Some have disappeared just in the time I've been doing it. So you always want to be careful about who you're sending your money to. Many of them give you the medal and bib up front and then you submit your times, which honestly I prefer because then you know if they suddenly go under, you've already got your stuff. The ones where you pay and then walk and then get your things, you'll want to like walk quickly after you sign up, just in case, because like I said, I had one go under still owing me medals. So these races also give a portion of the money raised to the relevant charity, but they just completely forego the physical local element. So more of the money goes towards the charity than the setup and whatnot. So if you really find that external motivation of having a medal to prove you did something, then virtual 5K sites might be right up your alley. Again, cost is about the same. So virtual run events does a cool thing where in addition to the smaller normal races, they also hold a year-long group race into space. So everyone submits all of their different walks from the year, and they try to cover a challenge distance. So the first year they went to the moon, they've gone to the sun, you've seen me wear that shirt, Venus, etc. It's really cool. I think this year is Saturn. So check that one out. Virtual Pace series also has a variety of events and different lengths. I use a 5K as something of a generic. But you can also find 10Ks and other lengths on these sites. Virtual World Racers is really cool. They aim for a 5K every month, one a month, every month, and each one is for a different country. And the little medal is for different country. It's the shape of it with the flag. And they change every year. So if you do it for a few years in a row, you can collect, all the countries in the world. You can walk around the world, which is really awesome. U.S. road racing, in addition to their 5s, also has longer form races. So for example, you take as many days as you need to eventually get to 30K or whatever. And they have some unique ones where they have a one for every state, and so you can walk a 5K and then collect that state, so you can walk all 50 states, kind of like the world racers do every country. So that's kind of fun. So Best Race Bling, it's a little different. They don't raise for any particular charity. Their goal is for you to be active, and they reward you with a medal. That's kind of their deal. So that one doesn't have the charity fundraising aspect to it, but you still get medals if you want to do some of their races. And then finally, check out Geeked Out Events, which, among other events, also has virtual races. And everything they do, however, is geeky. So they have things like Harry Potter and Doctor Who themed races. And the medals are all themed, and people dress up and they do their races and they take their pictures, and it's awesome. So if you're a geek, check that one out. And again, all of these sites are for virtual, and sometimes also local races. So you can do them at your own pace. So, not virtual, but a website to check out and something to work your way up to, something in my future goals list, is Run Disney. So these are races held within the actual Disney parks. It's official, done by Disney themselves, and there are themes for each one. And usually they're a weekend long, and there'll be a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon in that weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you can certainly go and just do the 5K or the 10K. But there's also this awesome thing you can do when you're able to, which is if you do all the races in that weekend, and then they'll give you another medal that says you did that. And that's like my life goal. And like Geeked Out, people do it in costume, and it's just amazing. And you're actually in Disneyland. So those are some places you can find races, both virtual ones and local ones. So now, how do you get yourself up to actually walking a 5K? Well, there are, no surprise, several apps. I'll start by saying, in my experience, these apps are geared to get you jogging or running a 5K. They're aiming to have you finish it in 20 to 30 minutes. That's about a 10-minute mile. Now that said, I have spent my entire 5K career walking. I do about a 20 to 25-minute mile, and I think I started at a 30. With 2 exceptions, one of which was a 10K. The finish line has still been there waiting for me. And there was one race which had a hard time limit because they had to open the roads, and so for the first time I did it, I had to kind of hustle towards the end, but I made it. And the second year I did that one, I made it with time to spare. So I definitely was able to walk faster. Now, yes, when I first started, I was easily the last person to finish the race, or within the last handful. But I got up. I increased from an hour and a half to an hour and 10 to finish, and there were plenty of people still behind me. So to train yourself for walking a 5K, all you need to do is get out there and walk. Walk around your neighborhood, walk around a local park. Start small, increase your time and distance until you can walk those 3.1 miles. You can do it. Now, if you want to come in closer to an hour or under an hour, that's where the apps can help. The most well-known is Couch to 5K brand, which used to be free but now seems to cost $3. And they give you a little trainer and a schedule and you do it. There are also some free apps though. C25K promises a community, but they also have you jogging on day one. And theirs is an 8-week program with you working out 3 times a week. All of them are 3 times a week. Couch to 5K is 9 weeks. C25K is 8 weeks. 5K Runner is 8 weeks. But with 5K Runner, you only get the first 2 weeks on their free app, and then you have to upgrade to Pro. And the others, of course, have in-app purchases, but at least you can actually do all of the weeks, it looks like. And then another paid one, which is just $2, is called 5K by Day X, so it sounds like it's more flexible, but it also appears to have a 9-week schedule. And I haven't paid for it to check it out, but if you want to look at that one. So again, all of these kind of lie about the couch bit. They assume you are already able to kind of walk a 5K and that you just want to start jogging or running. They all have you jump right into jogging or running for part of day one. And let's face it, that really isn't couch. That's jogging shoes to 5K. So you can also find demo couch to 5K plans online with the same flaws, but then you just copy paste them to somewhere else and create your own. I doubled the time. I alternate weeks of building jogging stamina with weeks of just walking a 5K because they tend to focus on time, not distance. And if you're jogging an actual 5K and then you have to stop and walk instead for some reason, you should be prepared for how long that's going to take and what it will feel like. So I duplicated several weeks in the beginning also, where they say like week 1 you jog 1 minute and then week 2 you jog 3 minutes. I'm like, maybe week 1 and week 2 I jog 1 minute. Then week 3 I jog 3 minutes or 2 minutes. So go through and figure out your own pace, what your own pace can reasonably be, and do it that way. As I said, I'm still able to walk a 5K within the time limits, so there's no need to rush myself up to running. It can take me, a couple months instead of just 8 weeks. And then once you're able to walk and then jog and then maybe even run a 5K, that's where the higher levels come in. As I said, I've walked a 10K a few times virtually and once locally. The local one, very much outside their time limits. I was on my pace the whole time of doing a 5K in an hour 10. I was on that pace. But they were just not down for that. So this is where you need to be able to jog and run a bit to finish it in their time. Couch to 5K has a free cousin, which is 5K to 10K. And C25K also has a button you can click inside of it when you finish it to move on to a 10. And there's also an app called 13.1 to get you up to a half marathon after this. And again, these are all great tools, but don't feel like you need to keep up with their breakneck pace. You can always use your own timer and tracker and make your own customized plan. There's no reason that you have to be running in only 8 weeks. You can take 4 months or 6 months or a year. And maybe you're still jogging after a year. That's totally fine. Work at a pace that you can handle. And remember that for virtual races, there's no time limit at all. Local events often have some kind of deadline to reopen the roads or get out of the park or whatever, but virtual ones are totally up to you. So start with those and do them at your own pace. So that's it for today. We went really long, I realize. I had a lot to say about 5Ks apparently. This has been Roly Poly Weight Loss. As always, I am your host, Roly Poly. Share your plans and successes with the hashtag Couch to 5K, and I'll share my own. And please join me next time.